After doing the FOI, or they call it the grama in Utah, for a reckless Ben, as I mean, they're right. If you actually had a real stalker, you'd get killed before something would happen. So I done this was before the body cam release. I did a grama for the basically how they handled stalkings. Just a records requests. How many arrests and yada yada yada. Um, so it gave me an idea to do an FOI request to find out more about the statistics in my own case. Because I did notice that, I mean, during the pandemic, um, there's not a whole lot of crime going on, but in the Draw How to Leader, I would see this person cursed at a cop, donation to Red Door. That person cursed at a cop, donation to Red Door. I go in there, no evidence is presented on my side because Eleanor Kelly, I told them they knew it was contested. They knew there was a factual dispute. I had told them from day one, but from literally my first message, hey, this is what happened. I'm used to the upper courts. You go a million times before a substantive hearing. I go in there, they're like, oh, there's a hearing today. Oh, okay. I, again, tell them exactly what happened. We go in there, and what was said on the stand was outrageous. And I told Judge Nicole Anders, I was like, no, look, I have the SAR here. And I pulled up the SAR on my phone. And I was looking for, the medical records that I'd had a fractured tailbone just like a week before and a flat neck. And she's like, "Are you recording?" I was like, "No." And I'm just, I'm, I'm law abiding. I'm just like, and I'm like low, and I just handed the phone to the guardies, just standing there, like, because I'm like, I'm a law abiding person, and I mean, I missed my first day, my very, very first law lecture because I was interning. I was in the forecourts on a judicial review. Um, I'd even emailed the uni that. So I even have evidence of that. I started interning because doing work experience for my pre-uni course. Um, I, I'm interested in law. I loved watching the big murder trials or live streamed back with Nick Rekieta, before the Pope lost his hat there. Um, Hope his kids are okay. Goodness gracious. Um, so, anyways, this is just very, very peculiar that you go in there, no evidence is presented. I mean, in my case, you got the BM Dunn is the arresting officer, the prosecuting officer, the sole witness for the prosecution, the sole evidentiary source. I come up there saying, "Look, I got evidence. Here's the I was trying to get ECAS recordings, on the 26th of February. The superintendent of the station denied it. Well, I'm satisfied that you have committed this offense, and I am convicting you." Like, ridiculous. Um, so I'd heard when I first came into town that the Red Door Project was a scam. I'm not saying that it is. I don't know. I'm just saying that I'd seen a calendar, and occasionally if it's a nice calendar, like I think I actually did buy it. I did buy a calendar from them, and somebody told me that it was that they weren't a reputable place. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's maybe somebody's opinion, and I bought the one calendar, so I won't buy another one. Um, and my experience through the courts is I'm not alleging fraud. Um, just saying that it seems kind of fishy. Um, so anyway, so I did two Freedom of Information requests, re Section 6 offenses. It's cursing at cops, basically, which is not illegal unless you're intending to, or reckless as to your intent to provoke a breach of the peace, etc. But just cursing with no intention of public disorder, and being reckless is having, knowing that there is a potential for public disorder and just not caring. So either you intend to cause reckless disorder by cursing at the officer, or by cursing, or any act, but cursing is one act. or you know that it could cause public disorder and you just don't care. In my case, I was saying this effing a-hole won't take a report on the phone to emergency services because I was just assaulted, and in my opinion, this effing a-hole wouldn't take a report. And was turned away from him, so that was clearly not it, which is why I didn't even step into the courtroom. I asked a guardie where the court was, and he says, "Oh, are you Ashley Denningham?" I said, "Yes." He says, "I've been told to tell you that the appeal is allowed," and it was just based on just the submissions that I made because I was representing myself. I presented evidence. So the Freedom of Information request to the guards. Pursuant to this, I request access to all records, reports, spreadsheets, statistical returns, management reports, briefing materials, data sets, presentations, audits, reviews, analysis, or other recorded information held by An Garda Síochána relating to offenses under Section 6 of the Criminal Justice Public Order Act 1994. I request records from 1st of January 2020 to date. In particular, I want records showing, insofar as are held, the total number of arrests nationwide for offenses under Section 6, the total number of arrests within County Meath, County Louth, Meath Garda, Louth Garda, and any other divisional structures covering those areas. I want annual breakdowns of the above figures. I want the number of persons charged or otherwise proceeded against in respect of those figures. I want to know how many files were submitted to the DPP for prosecution. And I want to know any records showing how those cases were disposed of as far as they're known to the guards. I also want any records, reports, statistical returns, management reports, etc., concerning the disposal outcomes of S6 investigations and prosecutions, such as the conviction rates, dismissal rates, strikeout rates. So how many people were convicted, dismissed, struck out, how many cases were withdrawn, how many of the accused agreed to the Probation Act, how many made a donation to the Poor Box or another charitable donation, how many were just a fine, how many had to pay compensation or do community service, how many were locked up in a custodial outcome. Judge Nicole Andrews, after I asked for the case to be reopened on procedural fairness grounds, so that I could actually present evidence that was completely, rebutted what he said. I mean, including the audio, which was released in redacted form after I was convicted, and I've got another request in asking on what grounds they redacted it because, I mean, it's his voice, my voice, and the ECAS operator. It's a live proceeding, even though it was after the conviction. They know I'm appealing. And, why wasn't it released in the beginning? If they're relying on the fact that this is damaging to a prosecution, well, Jesus, anything. Well, we are not going to be able to get a conviction. If we give her this audio, we can't get a conviction. So, yeah, that is going to be damaging to our prosecution because how the heck can we convict if we give her evidence that we lied? So, yeah. So, custodial outcomes. Yeah, she was going to give me a 2-month committal order. I broke down crying, cowering on the floor. I mean, just a complete panic attack because I've got this UCD case. So if I had gotten a committal order, not only, I would never grass on somebody to avoid. I have my morals, But at the same time, I have an active mind. I have trauma. My father kept me, had a key on the door. He needed a lock on the deadbolt on the front door. He would drive me to and from school and kept me locked in the house the rest of the time. Very abusive. I do not do well with locked doors. So if you put me in an empty room with the locked door, that's not a good situation for me. And also the 2-month committal order, I'm barely holding. The UCD case seems like it's on the upside now, finally. But UCD case would have been gone if I went to jail for 2 months. So everything, when she said that, and this was when she initially wanted me to just do a caution and have it struck out. And then it was like, okay, well, we can do a probation act, or we can do this, we can do that. And then Monahan, in America, you get a probation. That's part of the sentence. That could be a sentence. You can get a committal order, or you can get, they can send you to jail, or they can say, well, we don't think it's serious enough for you to be sent to jail, but we're going to put you on probation, maybe some counseling, or just have somebody check in with you once a month, whatever. So I assumed it was the same here. I didn't know that a probation here, you have to kind of admit guilt. And I'd literally said from day one, I did nothing wrong. I am never accepting a guilty finding. If they're convicted, I will appeal. And Monahan, she wouldn't reopen it on procedural fairness grounds. She wouldn't give me a short adjournment for a solicitor, because I dismissed Eleanor Kelly after the conviction. And then she says, 2 months. I'm giving you a 2-month committal order. Oh, wait, you don't. And after I was in a complete state of panic, which I have the video preserved from this, because I've never seen, or this is just absolutely beyond the pale. It's unbelievable. Like, you can't do this. This is beyond. Of course, the Judicial Council says, sure, it's just judicial decisions. They just completely misrepresent what you say and say, now you just have a problem with judicial decisions. No, judicial decisions cannot be divorced from judicial conduct. And that is not right. She was clearly bullying and intimidating me into pleading, saying I was guilty. And Monahan was just going through everything, saying, so you'll take the Probation Act. I was like, yeah, sure, thinking but there'll be a stay on any sentence pending appeal, right? If I wasn't with it, I would have ended up saying, okay, I'll take the Probation Act, and then next thing I know, oh, wait, I can't appeal now? And of course he said, oh, it's a losing case. It's, well, if you're directing me to take it, I'll appeal, but I won't take it because it's a losing case. And I said, well, okay, but, so can you get a stay on any sentence, or, well, no committal order will issue today, and he kept saying, well, you won't get locked up today, but, very, very corrupt, very corrupt. So I want all the records showing all of that, who got locked up, how many appeals were lodged, how many appeals were allowed, how many appeals were dismissed. Allowed means, it goes through and the conviction is overturned. How many convictions were quashed, right? Overturned, quashed, whatever. How many retrials were ordered. I imagine probably not that many on an appeal, but for something little itty-bitty crime like this, and any other recorded disposal categories. And this is what I need here the most. I want breakdowns nationally, within County Meath, within County Louth, and within each Garda division serving those counties. Because, for instance, if they say, well, nationwide, 75% get a caution, half of those are fines, half of them are poor box. But if they say, well, in Meath and Louth, Jesus, 95% of those are convictions, because imagine some people will be able to hire a solicitor, But of course, if somebody shows up with a solicitor, they probably just drop the charges straight away, so that might not even go, But yeah, I imagine that the corruption here, maybe the corruption just as bad all across the country, and maybe it's worse here, but these comparisons will let me know, the statistics. Statistics don't lie. Also, I want to know records identifying charities, organizations, funds, or recipient bodies associated with poor box or charitable donation disposals arising from Section 6 proceedings, insofar as that information is held by the guards. Any records, guidance, policy circulars, etc., containing concerning the investigation, arrest, charging, prosecution, disposal, or appeal of offenses under Section 6. So their guidance, their policies, like what do they typically do for Section 6? And I want all of it. If the request is too broad, then they'll give me some reasonable assistance in refining it, if they're withheld or redacted, I want the release of any non-exempt portions, and I want them to stay the specific statutory provision they rely upon for each refusal or redaction to be identified. And if they don't have any records for any of those things, they need to confirm that explicitly and say whether they have anything similar. So that's for the guards. Next one I had is for the courts. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act 2014, I request access to any records, reports, spreadsheets, statistical returns, management reports, briefing materials, data sets, presentations, blah, 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 held by court service relating to proceedings under Section 6. I want the number of district court proceedings that were started, number of Section 6 offenses nationally that were subject to district court proceedings, the number of those proceedings in County Meath, County Louth, and any court districts serving those counties. I want annual breakdowns of the figures. I want to know how many and what proportion, what percentage of the S6 proceedings ended in the following, had the following results. How many were convicted, dismissed, struck out? How many did prosecution withdraw? How many were struck out because there was no prosecution for want of prosecution? How many accused agreed to a probation act? How many agreed to or were forced to donate to the poor box or other charitable donation? How many got fines? How many did fines or compensation or just compensation or had to do community service, got a suspended sentence, got locked up, was released on their own recognizance? How many were taken into consideration? In my case, they said I was publicly intoxicated and that I cursed at a cop, and so that was sufficient for a Section 6 public disorder charge. So the public intoxication was not convicted, but taken into consideration. Now, all of that is just quashed. That's all gone now. Yes, I was at a pub, but the audio shows I was clearly speaking. I was coherent. I was just repeatedly trying to report an assault. I mean, if I hadn't had a couple of pints on me, I probably would have realized the futility of the situation. But I thought, hey, what the heck? What's the worst you can do? Drive away? I should have known better. I should have known better. So how many appeals were lodged? How many appeals went through? How many appeals were dismissed by the courts? How many convictions were just gotten rid of? How many retrials were ordered, and any other recorded, any other ways that they disposed of a case? I want the breakdowns nationally, within County Meath, within County Louth, and within each court district serving these counties. I also want to know the average fines, the median fines, so the kind of the middle point, how the fines were distributed, the actual number of fines under 100, between 100 and 250, between 250 and 500, and over 500. I want records relating to the use of the poor box, charitable donations, or donations to third-party organizations. And I want to know the number of Section 6 charges that resulted in a poor box or charitable donation arrangement. The district and year in which that occurred, which courts had that, how much was donated or ordered to be donated, which charities, organization, or funds received those donations, the number of times donations were ordered to be paid to or directed to be paid to the Red Door Project or any associated organizations. The proportion of cases disposed of that resulted in poor box or charitable donation arrangements nationally within County Meath, County Louth, and the different court districts serving these counties. Any reports, reviews, analysis, blah, 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 concerning the use of poor box or charitable donation orders in Section 6 proceedings. Many record statistics, blah, 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 concerning trends in Section 6 prosecutions, convictions, appeals, or disposals. Any statistics held regarding legal representation in Section 6 proceedings, including legal aid representation, privately retained solicitors, self-represented litigants, or any equivalent categories insofar as such records are held. And I can tell you right off the bat, anyone represented by legal aid, that number is going to be probably damn near 100%. Not quite, because there are other solicitors besides Eleanor Kelly, Fergal Boyle, and with Eleanor Kelly works out of Drogheda and Stamullen, by the way. I think some other town. Fergal Boyle was the one that was paid to get me convicted. And Monaghan is out of Drogheda, and I mean, their conviction rates are going to be 100%. I can tell you that right off the bat. They work for the courts. They don't work for you. But I imagine if I had gotten an adjournment, a short adjournment, to get my own legal aid solicitor, I might have found one that would represent me. But when they appoint them, it's a guaranteed conviction. But I imagine, so it wouldn't be quite 100%. There might be a legal aid solicitor out there that will actually represent clients. I'm sure that there are some. I just know that Eleanor Kelly, Fergal Boyle, and Monaghan, their conviction rate's going to be 100. Privately retained solicitors, yeah, they're going to have a much better, much lower conviction rate. Self-represented litigants, I didn't even have to go. There was no hearing required to have my case dismissed when I represented myself, or any equivalent categories. And if any of it's held in a spreadsheet, I want an electronic form. If any of it's too broad, no problem, I can narrow it as required. If any records, they don't want to give me the records, or they want to redact them, I want the release of any portions that they can release, and they tell me exactly why they decided to refuse to release the info or redact the info. And if there are no records, they need to say that and say whether there are any similar records. They can't just say, otherwise, if you don't put these clauses in, they just cherry pick what they give you, and then that's it. And then they might say, sure, we're relying on, and just give a general statute or something. And they might just send you a couple of things. So you really have to nail them down. You need to either send me this or tell me why you're not sending it to me. Are you not sending it to me because it doesn't exist? Are you not sending it to me because you have a legal reason to not send it to me? You really got to nail them down. These are real squirrely. They don't like being forthright and upfront, and information is power. And when they're giving you this information, yeah, that can kind of affect their power. So, all right, I suppose this is long enough as it is. So, Section 6 offenses, Freedom of Information Act, and I'm sure they'll take the full 3 months to get back, because they have a month to respond, and then they can come back and say, oh, well, we need another 2 months. Which, yeah, legitimately for this stuff, I can definitely see them saying, hey, we need a couple more months. So don't expect to get anything back for about 3 months, but you never know. And I'm hoping that the numbers are higher here than nationwide, because I know for a fact that it's corrupt here. If the numbers are the same nationwide, then we got a problem. I mean, we got a bigger problem. But yeah, the discrepancies will catch them out here.